So I want to show you this property here specifically. This one is in Bentley. It's $1,200 per week. Bond is $4,800, but the furniture is done. So we can immediately take off that $12K. We can use a contingency in there for anything that we might need, like Ian's deal when we had to buy a bed and a desk, and I went there and set it up for him. But in terms of this property here, from what we can see, there is everything that we need to be in the property, but obviously leaving a few $1,000s as contingency is very valuable as well. Bentley here. This one, 3 to 1 demand ratio. It's not fantastic, but it moves all the time. The other cool thing about Bentley is it's close to Wilson, which is Ian's property. So I know that there's demand there, and there's also 112 people in that area looking. So this one here, I'd be happy to move forward with 3 to 1. Obviously, just using this as confluence, you can follow the strict rules. But what we can also see here is kind of newer homes going from 290 to 380. This one's at 420. And so again, comparing apples with apples, the room that we just looked at with a small single bed, this one's done up and it looks like an Airbnb property, which is super cool. But obviously these people are asking and have secured $420, including bills. But this has its own ensuite. So there's no point in putting $420 in our house unless it has an ensuite, where this property actually does, being a 5x3. So one of these rooms will have an ensuite. So we can project that we could achieve $420 for that room. This is 5x3, so we can go for 6 people, couple in there as well. But when we look at this in terms of a feasibility, $325 inclusive of bills across the board, and then $420 for that couple room. So even though those people over here were looking to get $420 for a single person in this room, then if we want to have a couple being at $420, then that is quite conservative as well. So we've got $325, $420. Setup cost contingency there for $750. Rent is $1,200 a week, and then bond is $4,800, 98% occupancy. No walls. So we don't have to worry about that. In terms of this property here, you're looking at spending just around $5,000 to get into. This is very similar to Ian's deal. Ian was $5,600 to get into. So this one here is sub 10 if you do not want to outlay a large amount of capital. The deal is smaller though. It makes $18,891, and that is with utilities, insurance. Now I'll show you, if we look at new Kai, who I met today, I met him in person today, but I've been speaking with him for a while. So we're going to move forward. And again, I'll test Kai on our own properties, but his management is only refill. So if you're doing this remotely and you manage everything online that you can, room listings, things like that, he charges $50 to go and open the room and show people through and try and sell it to them. Now, if he sources his own tenants, he will close them and it costs $150. So you can say, hey, Kai, this is the room. This is what I'm looking for. Please go find people for it. He will, and he charges $150 to do that for every single room. So if we're looking at 5 rooms here and we need everything filled, then that is going to be $150 times 5. That's going to be $750. Let's say we get 3 turnovers a year. That's going to be times 3. That's going to be $2,250 for the whole year. Amortized over 12 months divided by 12 is going to give us $187.50 to put in here as our monthly miscellaneous cost, so we can account for that. So what that means, 187.50. So that is going to be our miscellaneous cost. This property here, 16 grand. This might not look like a lot when we're talking about deals that are making $35,000, $40,000 a year. However, if you look at your return on investment with this, after tax is 528% in the first year. 3 months to break even. Everything else after that is profit. The reason why I wanted to show you this deal specifically, and the ones that we'll go through as well, is that if you're looking at Airbnb arbitrage, they are jumping up and down when a deal makes 10 to 14 grand. That is an absolute green light for them if it's the best case scenario. So I wanted to just show you that making money with property without having heaps of money to put into it, without doing the walls, without doing the furniture, is very possible and very profitable. So with this, because of the location and getting someone else to manage it on your behalf, you don't have that stress there, and you can also start making your money back in 3 months and then profiting from there and focusing on the next deal. So again, everything is from relationships and moving forward, but this is another good example. So 16 grand, being able to move forward with that, fully managed, no stress. You are just doing everything that needs to be done online. So there's one example in WA. The other one here in South Australia, I wanted to show you. This is a 5x2. So this is $870 a week. Again, it's fully furnished. But what's cool about this is if we jump, this is the co-living heat map. So this is how we break down compliance for absolutely everything. So if we jump over here to Adelaide, we'll be able to zoom in. And Adelaide's the same across the board. But if we click on that, we've got rooming house status applies for 2 rooms. So there's no true safe lane to stay under compliance. Registration triggers at 5+ rooms, designated rooming house CBS registration. So what that means is we need to understand that SA has no true ordinary dwelling in a safe lane, just like New South Wales and Queensland does with a threshold, like WA as well. So as soon as we're renting out more than 2 rooms, our rent is already considered as a rooming house, but that's okay because compliance isn't scary. Confirm subletting permission with the master lease. We need the same permissions to make subletting is in there. But what we do need to do is, in terms of registration, we complete a 2-part form on the CBS Smart Form application at sa.gov.au/real estate. Compliance is just a short online training course that is around 20 to 30 minutes. Then you need a national police certificate. And you need to pay for the registration fee. This changes year on year, but it is not a lot of money. It's nothing like Victoria. So that is the compliance. It's an online course. It's a registration. It's a police check. And it's also getting everything registered with that property. Once you do that, 5+ occupants, you're good to go. And if I just move that, you've got your ongoing and annual inspections as well. So rent can only be increased every 6 months, with at least 4 weeks in written notice. Ending any rooming house agreement requires 60 days written notice, on a prescribed ground only. So there's no ground termination. So you can't just kick someone out. If registered, notify CBS within 14 days of any change in circumstance, so name, address, and business structure. So it's very simple. And it is very easy to get registered. As long as you don't have a criminal record, you are essentially good to go. This is an online course about how to run a rooming house. So that being said, I wanted to show you this property here, $870 a week. This one is in Highbury in South Australia. Here again, we've got another 3-to-1 demand ratio and at 287. But down here, you've got 310. These properties here, I'll just show you what they are. Private room with shared bathroom. Very simple, not even IKEA. You've got like this and a single bed and everything like that. 310 and those are gone. So 310 for a shared house with this one is absolutely fine. So what I've done here is I've just dropped those in at 300 and your 5th room is at 300 as well. So with this property, we are looking at our 0 setup because of the furniture in that property. Bond is going to be actually 870 times 4. That's 3,480. And 870 a week in terms of rent to a landlord. So what we can see here, South Australia, amazing opportunities. Getting compliant, super easy. This deal, very low setup cost, around $3,480, as well as miscellaneous and extra contingencies in place, like your first 2 weeks rent. But again, a sub $10,000 deal to get stuck into. 1 month to break even. Annual cash flow, $22,800 from this property here in South Australia. Rent, utilities, miscellaneous insurance. Find someone like Kai doing the exact same thing, $187.50. That drops down to $20,000 in passive income, or semi-passive income, I should say, from you just doing the soft handling stuff, and then someone like Kai getting things sorted out for you. 2 months to break even now. And that is where you're at. So this is a low barrier to entry deals, things that are already furnished, and why this isn't scary. So you do not need to do the walls. You do not need to buy furniture if you get the right properties in place. So that's the South Australia and WA example. This one I've been through a couple of times with some different people. This one's a smaller deal. St. Lucia, however you say that, Queensland, 5x2, good. St. Lucia, thank you very much. This one here, fully furnished. It's good location, good amenities, and we have good access to the CBD, as well as being pretty central and close to Indooroopilly. So this property here, We are at a 4-to-1 and 314, 295, 350, and again down here at 400. So we want to know why these are higher and why this is less in comparison to our property here. So comparing room by room. This one here, even renting, so you can see the difference. $400, this looks like AI. This one here, like the bed's made, but it's not anything fancy, and it's just got a single pillow in the middle and a desk and a chair. So these are what people are used to when they're renting out rooming houses. So just stuff like this. So you can tell with a fresh bit of IKEA kit inside the property, it just makes it look much better as well. Pretty standard, right? This looks pretty average. Like old house, you know, it doesn't look amazing. But still, this one has been delisted at $355 inclusive of bills. It's also 6x3, so you've got a lot of people living here. So $355. So what I've done with this property is I've put everything in at $350 just across 5 rooms here. Again, if we jump back into compliance for Queensland specifically, like easy, again, it's just a checklist of things that you need to do. But if we jump in here, we can also see that this is fine for our DA lodged zone. So we're good to go there. We don't need DA approval. If we jump in, our compliance is around $1,000. So $600 to $700 in registration to make sure that we can go past 4 into 5 residents for a rooming house in Queensland. Lodge Form 1, registration, $372. Lodge Form 2, accreditation, $37.21 per resident. So for example, you're looking at $148 for 4 residents, $186 at 5 residents. And then we need to await the site visit or desktop audit of the policies and procedures, accreditation granted for up to 3 years once approved. What this is looking for is making sure you do not have some weird dungeon room in the middle of the house that has no light and it is tiny. So you can't just use like an office space to be that extra bedroom. And that's what they're looking for when they're looking to accredit that property as a rooming house. So that is absolutely fine, as well as different agreements to use. So like the Form 18 agreement for every resident is required regardless of the registration status, including at 3 residents. So 4 to 5 residents display your accreditation certificate on the site and where residents can actually see it. So there's a few different rules that you need to follow, but it's very simple. It's just talking to people once again to get your property up and running. So with this one here, we are sitting at $19,000 bond setup and contingency for getting everything registered and accredited. We're looking at $4,720. Rent to landlord is $1,880. $19,000, 3 months to break even. Utilities, insurance, we'll chuck in here another miscellaneous. You're looking at 18. So the point of all this is just to show you that you can make 15 to 20 grand without buying furniture and without building walls. If this was Airbnb, the different strategies around this is you would need to have your property running as a normal house, breaking even a lot of the year until you can run that short-term rental accommodation business inside of the peak periods like summer, Christmas, New Year's, everything like that. And that's where they're making their money. So with this, it's much more consistent. It's predictable cash flow, making anywhere between 15 and 17K if your starting point in capital is much lower. So that's what I wanted to show you. Another example. This one here, very similar. I've gone through this with who's another member of our community getting started. Now the goal with this one is to make $1,500 a month. That's it. Another 5x2. This one's in New South Wales. So again, jumping over, New South Wales actually has an easier registration process if I find it. It's only about $100. So going down here. Inside of this, confirming target resident count is 4 or fewer, you're absolutely fine. It stays outside of the Boarding House Act. But rent is so much now that not a lot of deals stack with 4 people. So we need that 5th to really take it over the edge. In terms of the normal permissions, it's again that subletting permission on the master lease. Decide whether the residents will be structured as lodgers, subtenants. NCAT looks at the substance of the arrangement, not just the label. So get this right from the start. What we have here is a combination of completing a boarding house registration form, paying the $100 registration fee and submitting that to New South Wales Fair Trading, and then registering it within 28 days of commencing operation at the registrable boarding house. From there, you've also got ongoing expectations and obligations. So there's going to be a council fire safety inspection within 12 months. This is if you're operating with 5 or more residents. This covers fire safety, making sure there's no overcrowding, hygiene is okay, and local, according to the Local Government Act. And that's that. So in terms of New South Wales, we are good to go. And it's just, again, following those checklists, just like we have in every single other state. And from here, this property, beautiful. Like, this is really, really nice. I'd 100% live here. So obviously really good photos as well. The other cool thing about photos is if you are wanting to list the rooms before the furniture has arrived, I know we're talking about furnished properties, but you can always use the pictures from realestate.com. There's a little trick. So in terms of this property here, we are looking at a 3-to-1 again. $334 per week in Hurstville, $360, $380. So very confident with that there. Higher than our average flatmates in the area. We are looking at 103 results. Perfect. So this one here, we've drawn up the feasibility, and this one is at $350 per room, 5 rooms. Contingency there for setup. Obviously, add a couple thousand if you want to, just to be safe as your buffer. Bond is $4,800. 18 grand in cash flow, and you are break even in 2 months. So this is stuff that is stub. I don't know, I'll just put in this as well. So if you don't want to manage it, you find someone like Kai, you're fine. So 15 grand, 2 months to break even, no furniture outlay. So you're getting your money back, all the money that you put into the property that is bond anyway, that comes back to you within 2 months. And at the end of the lease, they give you the bond back regardless. So it's like forced savings for your bond, getting in, breaking even in 2 months, and then making money on the rest of the year. It's a very simple, very straightforward, no furniture delivery, no coordinating handymen and builders to do walls. Very easy and very scalable to stack on top of each other. Meaning if you have 15 grand, it goes a lot further than just putting it all into one deal and stretching yourself. So this is what I wanted to show you. WA, South Australia, Queensland, New South Wales, scale deals. So these are stackable, smaller deals. I know they don't seem as impressive as making $40,000 a year from one property, but because you can have it managed on your behalf, get into it with lower capital, they make a lot more sense when you're first starting off. There's also more opportunities like that as well. That's what I wanted to cover. I'm not going into Victoria because Victoria, even if you're running with 3, it's usually likely to get a rooming house operator's license, and then different compliance trickles in, gets a little bit more expensive. Northern Territory, I don't have any operators there yet. No one's done the deal. No one's joined the program from Northern Territory. So we haven't dived into that yet. But those are the main states, and those are examples of getting into scale deals that are a little bit easier to stack with less cash. Sound good? Cool. Nice one. Now, this comes off the back of people not wanting to start with heaps of money, and also off the back of looking all in WA and then just realizing, hang on a minute, if I just follow the checklist with compliance, all the other states open up to me. So if you're really having trouble looking in WA because rent's really expensive, it's one of the highest increasing rent states there is. And you can be like, hang on a minute, I can look in Queensland. I can look in South Australia. If I'm going to run something remotely in WA, why don't I just do that in South Australia? So that's exactly what model and the reasoning behind this video. And you don't have to put as much capital on the line either. The important thing with running these specific smaller deals in other states is going to be building your team first. So that's going to be reaching out to co-hosts first, before you probably even sign a lease or even start contacting people. It's going to be building your own team. WA is good because you've got my team here. Victoria is good because you've got a team. But in terms of doing this interstate on your own, obviously with our support, you're going to be relying on community members and building your own team. But it's incredibly doable, and it's just more options for you if you wanted to look in different areas. And that's it.